Good news for Biafrans, as major political waves are turning in favor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. What we are about to share with you right now is the kind of information that does not come around every day. If you have ever doubted that the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was going to attract the attention of Nigeria's most powerful voices, today is the day that doubt should permanently leave your mind. This is because what has just unfolded within the last few hours is something that even the most optimistic among us did not see coming at this speed. Make sure you stay with us until the very last second, because what is coming at the end of this video is going to leave you with a lot to think about. Before we go any further, we want to ask you something, and we want you to answer honestly in the comments section below. Do you believe that the older generation of Nigerian leaders have a responsibility to speak up for justice regardless of tribe, region, and political affiliation? Drop your answer in the comments right now, because what we are about to tell you is going to make that question feel very personal. What many of you may have forgotten before we get into the latest developments, we need to take you back because there is something very important that many people seem to have either forgotten or never paid enough attention to in the first place. This piece of history is absolutely critical to understanding the full weight of what is happening right now. Many of you may not know or may have forgotten that former President Olusegun Obasanjo did not just talk about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from a distance. He did not simply issue a press statement and return to his farm in Abeokuta. Instead, this man personally sent his own delegates directly to the facility where Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was being held to visit him and assess his condition firsthand. His personal representatives sat with Nnamdi Kanu face to face. Let that sink in for a moment. But what makes this even bigger is what happened next. Obasanjo did not stop at sending delegates. He went much further. He personally reached out to and visited former President Goodluck Jonathan. This is the same Goodluck Jonathan who governed this country and who carries significant political weight not just in Nigeria but across the entire African continent. The subject of that engagement was directly connected to the matter of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and what needs to happen going forward regarding his continued detention. If that is not enough to get your attention, Obasanjo also reached out to and visited former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Professor Yemi Osinbajo is a man deeply connected to the political establishment, a man who served directly under President Buhari and who maintains strong relationships within Nigeria's leadership structure to this day. Obasanjo sat with Osinbajo, and that conversation, according to the information available to us, touched directly on the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We want to stop right here and ask you a very important question in the comment section. When a former president is personally visiting both a former president and a former vice president, all within the context of one man's detention, what does that tell you about the seriousness of what is being planned behind closed doors? Drop your answer below. The story does not stop there because after engaging Jonathan and Osinbajo, Obasanjo himself paid a personal visit to President Bola Tinubu inside Aso Rock. The subject of that conversation was the fate of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and whether the time had come for his release to be seriously considered at the executive level. This really happened. This is not a rumor, and this is not speculation. A former president walked the seat of power in Nigeria specifically to discuss the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Let that register completely before we move forward. The question we want to ask you right now is this. If Obasanjo was willing to visit Jonathan, visit Osinbajo, and then walk directly into Aso Rock to sit with Tinubu, all in connection with one case, does that sound like something that is going to end without a significant outcome? Tell us what you think in the comment section. Now here is where things become even more significant, because what we are seeing is not a one-off gesture. What we are seeing is a deliberate, calculated, and sustained pattern of engagement that is continuing to this day. Obasanjo has now gone a step further and has directly engaged another prominent Nigerian politician in conversations that are tied specifically to the question of Kanu's continued detention. We are being precise with our words here because this is a developing situation, and we will not present what we cannot fully confirm. But what is already clear is that this level of continued engagement does not happen without a purpose. It does not happen without an outcome already being pursued. This is the part that many people are missing, and it is the part that is not getting the attention it deserves. While the public debates and the social media arguments continue, there are quiet but very powerful conversations happening at the highest levels of Nigeria's political structure, and those conversations have Mazi Nnamdi Kanu at the center of them. Up until now, the loudest voices calling for Kanu's release have come from within the Southeast, from diaspora communities, from human rights organizations, and more recently from United States lawmakers who have been bold enough to publicly call out the Nigerian government by name. But when the conversation moves into the inner circles of Nigeria's own political establishment, and when a former president is personally visiting former heads of state, former vice presidents, and the sitting president himself all in connection with this one case, the pressure is no longer coming from the outside alone. It is now building from within, and pressure from within is always the hardest to ignore. On top of everything happening inside Nigeria, there is now massive international pressure building from the highest offices in the world. Reports in diplomatic channels show that United States President Donald Trump and the Prime Minister of Israel are also putting direct pressure on the situation, with Nnamdi Kanu's legal team actively appealing to Washington regarding the protection of Judeo-Christians and the Igbo heartland. And with Kanu's long-standing cultural and religious ties to Israel, these two world powers are now shining a massive spotlight on Nigeria. This global intervention changes the game completely. This is what many people do not understand about how power operates in Nigeria. Public statements matter, yes, but the visits that never make the front pages, the conversations between former presidents and sitting leaders, the quiet engagements between powerful figures behind closed doors, and the heavy warnings from global leaders like Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister are the things that actually produce results. Right now, those things are happening in real time. We want to pause here and ask you another question. Do you think the Nigerian government is now feeling pressure from both inside and outside simultaneously? And do you think that combined pressure from local leaders, U.S. lawmakers, Donald Trump, and Israel is strong enough to finally produce a result in this case? Tell us below. Now let us put everything together, because when you step back and look at the full picture, what you see is truly remarkable. You have United States lawmakers making bold public statements and formally submitting documentation to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio regarding this case. You have Congressman John James maintaining active and consistent engagement at the federal level in America. You have the immense weight of Donald Trump and the Israeli leadership watching closely. You have Obasanjo visiting Goodluck Jonathan, visiting Yemi Osinbajo, and walking into Aso Rock to sit with Tinubu. At the same time, you have Obasanjo's personal delegates visiting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu directly in detention. This is not scattered, and it is not coincidental. When you see these many powerful forces moving in the same direction at the same time from inside Nigeria and outside Nigeria simultaneously, you are not looking at noise. You are looking at something that is building toward a specific and very significant outcome. Something big is coming. We will say it plainly. Something big is coming in the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We do not say that for dramatic effect. We say it because the evidence in front of us, the pattern of engagement, the caliber of the individuals now involved, and the coordination of pressure from multiple fronts all point to a development that this community needs to be prepared for. We want to ask you one final question before we close. Given everything that is now unfolding, given that Obasanjo has personally visited Jonathan, Osinbajo, and Tinubu himself, and given that American lawmakers, Donald Trump, and the Israel Prime Minister are formally engaging on this same matter, do you believe Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will be free before the end of this year? Yes or no? Drop it in the comment section so we can see where this community stands. As a final word, ladies and gentlemen, the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is no longer a regional conversation. It has moved into the offices of former presidents, into the home of a former vice president, and directly into Aso Rock itself. When a matter reaches that many levels of power at the same time from that many directions, something has to give. We will keep watching, we will keep verifying, and we will keep bringing you the truth as it unfolds. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, stay safe.